Welcome to our latest CarGurus UK review of this, the Genesis Electrified GV70. Now it might just be me, but I find it odd that they've called it that, because electrified is one of those terms that tends to get used for mild hybrids when brands' marketing departments want to jump on the EV bandwagon, albeit with an internal combustion engine in tow. This though, well, this is the real deal. It's a fully electric version of the GV70 with not a tailpipe in sight. Genesis, which is the premium brand of Hyundai, might still be something of a novelty in the UK at the moment. But there's nothing novel about the idea of an electric SUV, because the electrified GV70 is launching into what is already a hugely competitive segment. Rivals include the Jaguar I-Pace, BMW iX3, Tesla Model Y, Mercedes EQC and Audi e-tron, not to mention similarly sized vehicles such as the Ford Mustang Mach-E, VW ID4, Nissan Ariya, Skoda Enyaq and more. Then of course there's the family connection in the form of the Kia. Then of course there's the family connection. These crows are going to keep crowing while I talk, so I'm just going to carry on. Then of course there's the family connection in the form of the Kia EV6 and Hyundai Ioniq 5, as well of course as Genesis's own GV60. Now given that electric SUVs account for a very small part of overall car sales, that is a hell of a lot of cars really. Is there a chance though that this electrified GV70 could be the best of the lot? That might not be as far-fetched as it sounds. After all, we already know that Hyundai and Kia produce some of the best EVs on sale, and with the Genesis essentially adding some extra pizzazz to that proven formula, it should be onto a winner. I think it looks good too, this car. It's a dynamic design, it's got lots of nice flowing curves to it, and it has road presence too without being over the top. This grille is smaller than you get in the much bigger Genesis GV80. I think it's actually all the better for it. And there are details here that are nice too, so the slender headlights look good, and look at this charging port hidden away in the grille there. Really nice touch. We'll come back to charging in a minute. Overall, I think this car has elements of Maserati and maybe Porsche Macan about it, and that is absolutely intended as a compliment. You don't need to spec up to some sporty trim level to get this look either, because there's only one model of electrified GV70 being offered in the UK for now, meaning they all look like this. Which is not to say you can't still inflate the price tag of your GV70, as we'll come to in a minute. First though, let's note that this style is combined with youthful practicality, as you'd hope given this is a big car. So boot space, 503 litres, which is big enough, as you might be able to tell from all this dog hair here, to easily carry a dog. Now the reason for the dog hair in here will become clear in a future video, which we'll link to in the description, but for now let's just concentrate on this car. So boot space overall, you lose a bit of capacity actually compared with a diesel GV70. You don't get as much in the way of underfloor boot storage, but there is a space there for the parcel shelf. But overall, nice big boot, and there is a bit more storage in the front as well where you can house the charging cable, so you don't have to have that sitting in the boot either. Speaking of charging, the electrified GV70 uses a 77.4 kilowatt-hour battery, which is good for an official range of 283 miles. It can rapid charge at up to 240 kilowatts, meaning a charge from 10 to 80% range can be achieved in just under 20 minutes, provided you can find a suitable charger. I'll come back to battery range in a minute because there is more to be said there, but for now let's stick with practicality and look at these rear seats, which are, yeah, pretty good actually. So I'm 5'11" and I'm perfectly comfortable back here. I've got a decent amount of legroom, decent amount of headroom, even with this optional panoramic sunroof in place, and there's plenty of room under the seat for my size 10s. You can't slide the seats forwards and backwards, but you can recline the backrest for, and you'll note as well that they split in a 60-40 split, not 40-20-40. Also note that the middle floor here is almost flat, and this is quite a wide car, so you can get 3 people across if you need to. Now here's a good reason to take Genesis seriously. It's interiors, because they're really quite lovely. The design certainly has nice swoops and curves around it, but also the quality pretty much everywhere actually. Everything feels really good to touch. Perhaps these are slightly, the buttons could have the metallic finish, could be a bit more uniform with the trim surrounding it, but look at this lid here. I mean, the action of that, it's just delightful. My colleague Ivan, who's also appears on this channel, reckons there's almost a bit of TVR about some of the GV70's interior, and I totally see what he means. Look at this curve here. That's very TVR, isn't it? Back to those optional extras. Our car features the Innovation Pack, which among other things upgrades the dials to this digital setup complete with 3D effects, and adds a head-up display, upgraded headlights and highway driving assist. That costs about £3,500. There's also a convenience pack which gets you a heated steering wheel. This steering wheel is a 3-spoke, it's got this boost button which we'll come back to in a bit. This is a 3-spoke wheel. Lots of Genesis have a 2-spoke wheel. I like the 3-spoke, I'm a Brit traditionalist, I think this looks really good. Convenience pack, heated steering wheel, rear air conditioning and heated seats, and that's £1,200. And I'm sorry, but charging people for heated front seats in a £64,000 car is daylight robbery. Shame on you, Genesis. This car also has another pack which includes ventilation for the seats as well and a massage function, and that's another £1,600. I mean, basically this seat is now so expensive I'm not sure I even want to sit in it. At least all electrified GV70s come with an excellent 14.5-inch infotainment system as standard. This is a touchscreen, but you can also use this rotary controller down here, which is good because actually when you're driving, this is a little bit of a stretch to get to. The system itself is pretty much as per other Genesis models, and that is no bad thing because it has a crisp display, the graphics are good, the animations are really nice and smooth, and although there is clearly a lot in this system, actually the main functions are fairly easy to get to and to navigate. Take the charging screen for instance. Once you're in there, it's easy to adjust the charging thresholds or set departure times. Needless to say, Android Auto and Apple CarPlay are included too. Overall, there's just a real feel-good factor to being in the GV70, and it also comes with the Genesis Difference ownership package too, which includes a 5-year warranty and 5 years of servicing and roadside assistance, as well as discounted charging via certain partners. It's clear that Genesis wants to go the extra mile when it comes to the ownership proposition. So let's see if it can go the extra mile when it comes to range too. See what I did there? Clever, wasn't it? It's a real treat to drive this electrified GV70 too. Not as dynamic ultimately perhaps as an iX3 or a Jaguar I-Pace, and probably not quite as comfortable as an Audi e-tron, but the margins are actually fairly small and it feels just like a really well-rounded car. It's lovely. And there are some good, clever features as well. So brake regen, for example, you can adjust it by tapping on these pedals here, and you can go all the way through to the top of brake regen. It gives you I-pedal, so one pedal driving, or you can reduce it. That bong tells you it's turned off, and then there's 4 or 5 different levels of brake regen, so you can tune it to just what you like, and you can even learn that when you're approaching traffic in front, you can actually, rather than touch the brake pedal, you can just add a bit more brake regen to slow you down. There are also some slightly weird features. So in the touchscreen here, we have active sound design. So you can have enhanced, at which point, oh, it makes a fake engine sound. Look at that. Or you can change the sound, so maybe we'll have an e-motor sound. I mean, why? Surely one of the best things about an EV is how quiet it is. Why would you make it have a fake sound? It's also fast. Really, really fast. For now, Genesis only offers the electrified GV70 with a dual motor setup. And the downside of that is it makes it look expensive compared with single motor rivals. Now on the plus side, having dual motors, so one at the front and one at the rear, means that this car is rapid. So you get 430 horsepower, or if you press the boost button, which we'll do a bit later, you get 482 horsepower and 700 newton meters of torque, and that's good for a 0 to 62 time of just 4.2 seconds. And it's not just that it's fast off the line either. It's fast. From any speed, it just goes. Whoa. Those performance figures are even more impressive when you remember this is a big and heavy car. It weighs a whopping 2.3 tonnes, which does raise the somewhat awkward question of whether we really want our electric future to be SUV based if the aim is to go green. But, well, put that cynicism to one side, Natman, and let's instead focus on how lovely this car is to drive, particularly how refined it is. It's so quiet in here. And it handles well enough too. The steering has absolutely zero feel to it, but it's reasonably well weighted and it responds quickly enough. And if you have a nice empty road, you can really fire this car through bends. It can carry an awful lot of speed and get you from A to B very, very quickly indeed. As you'd expect, there are various driving modes that can be used to alter how the car behaves. By default, the car runs in comfort driving mode, which is a really good balance of pace and, well, comfort. So on a long distance, the Electrified GV70, it's not quite Mercedes S-Class levels of serenity, but it's not that far off, and that really is a big compliment. Or you can put the car into sport mode, and that makes it more alert and more hectic, really. When you're in sport mode, the ride, you notice it just feels a little bit too bumpy, and everything happens so fast, it's just a bit too hectic actually. In such a big car, you do feel like you could very quickly find yourself going into a corner a bit too quickly. Or there's eco mode, and eco mode softens everything off, makes the throttle a lot lazier. That said, it's still a quick car. There's still not much that's going to keep up with you even when you're in eco mode. And then there's the boost button. So boost mode, as you press there, gives you a 10-second burst of full accelerative lunacy. It's it's uncomfortably fast actually. I don't think we're at quite Tesla levels here, but it's really not far off, and I can't see anyone being disappointed by a GV70 in boost mode. It's impressive. It is impressive. But the car, you know, it does have a fairly major issue that we've observed, and that is efficiency. Not when you're driving in boost mode, you wouldn't expect it to be efficient then, but we spent a lot of time in this car, hundreds of miles in fact, and we've not seen more than 2.7 miles per kilowatt hour. Which just isn't great. So Genesis says this car will do 280 miles on a full battery, according to official tests. But at 2.7, 2.6, 2.5, like we've been seeing, actually you're only going to get around 220 miles, and that's a fairly big difference. So we did one journey, for example, in this car, pretty much all motorway, and we had it in eco mode, and we sat at 70 miles an hour and had the aircon set to drive it only. And we managed 170 miles with 40 miles of range left remaining. At that point, I charged it up. Thankfully, the charger in question was a 120 kilowatt rapid charger, and so I was able to add 177 miles in an acceptable 45 minutes. Not the fastest that you can charge a GV70, admittedly, but not bad. Problem is, that charge, it cost me £32, and I'm sorry, but at that point, one of the big advantages of running an electric car, that being the low running costs, well, it simply goes out of the window. Now, by comparison, my colleague Ivan, who appears to be cropping up quite a bit in this video, he did exactly the same journey in the diesel GV70, and he used a quarter of a tank of diesel. So I used a whole battery, and then I paid £32 to not quite top it up to full again, and he used quarter of a tank. Now admittedly, a diesel GV70 is not nearly as nice to drive as this electric model, but it's hugely more convenient. And if you are going to be doing lots of long journeys back to back, then you are going to have to really think hard about whether an electric car is right, particularly given the cost of using some of the public rapid charging network. None of which is the fault of Genesis, and nor is it unique to this brand. Fact is, unless you're a company car driver and can reap some of the tax benefits that come with having an electric car, and you do most of your charging at home and are somehow still on a cheap energy tariff, which good for you in 2022. A lot of the arguments for buying an electric car, I'm just not sure that they're there in the way that they used to be. Now, of course, there are lots of other advantages that you get, such as zero tailpipe emissions, and there is a lot to be said for that. And of course, as this electrified GV70 demonstrates, big EVs can just be really lovely things. Now, as to whether this car is as good as its rivals, well, in a lot of ways, I think it is actually, and that is no small achievement. I just can't help but wish it would go a bit further on a charge and that it cost a bit less. What do you think of the electrified GV70? Would it be on your shortlist for a big electric SUV? Let us know in the comments. Please do subscribe to the channel, and remember that when it comes to finding your next car, head to cargurus.co.uk to find loads of great deals from top-rated dealers.